All right. So we are all set. And I just want to make sure that I have my amazing guest here with me. So, Amber, are you able to hear, see? Are you connected? Amber, I think you may still be, it looks like you're still muted. So I'm going to actually unmute you, ask you to unmute yourself. I see your hand raised, but we do not hear you. But we are going to get started in this conversation because I know that we only have 30 minutes, but we really want to make sure to cover this topic. It's so important. So again, this is about obviously May being Mental Health Awareness Month. And we, under My Natural Me, wanted to really do our part to help raise awareness around mental health. And specifically, this series is about mental health and social media. So I'm sure everyone here, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we've all heard of the recent stories of different people who have been impacted by social media. Of course, we had Miss USA, who unfortunately died by suicide. We also have, and I hate that I keep referring to him as Regina King's son, but I just don't, his name never comes readily to my mind, but those were two very recent cases. And again, while we are not necessarily attributing their deaths to social media, based on their statements and the things that were shared from their family members, social media definitely played a role in how it impacted their mental health. So again, a little bit about My Natural Me. If you aren't familiar, My Natural Me is basically a virtual women's center that is all about helping people to be empowered, to feel that they can better their lives and that they can have rich and effective lives. And so we have various programs. We will be opening up physically in 2023. So that'll be exciting. But in the meantime, we are running our various programs. And again, everything about just helping specifically girls and women, but of course, anyone could really benefit from the programs and the information. So a little bit about me as we are getting Amber situated, who is still not able to patch through.
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
I'm
can.
here.
We
I'm
can hear you now.
sorry. Okay.
Awesome, awesome. So Amber, I'm gonna turn it over to Amber because Amber is one of the coaches under My Natural Me, but also just doing amazing things when it comes to mental health. And so Amber, I'm gonna go ahead and let you tell a little bit about yourself and let people know who you are and what you have going on.
Yeah, of course. So, sorry that you guys cannot see me today. I am doing multiple things, so I apologize for that. But I do want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name's Amber Thornton, and I have a huge background in behavioral health and mental health and some personal experience myself. I am currently developing a mobile app that will definitely be released this year going into fall. And the app is called Mindful Media. So the purpose of the app is to basically allow for us to monitor our media exposure while also giving us some mindful tips and practices and things to do to make sure we're feeling centered. So, yeah, tons of case management experience in the field experience. I actually met Lolita during a panel we were both on where we were actually discussing mental health and death by suicide and create this series to bring awareness to this month and how it is really focusing grounded on mental health and making sure that we make this a topic that can be discussed.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. And for those who are not aware of who I am, again, I mentioned My Natural Me, but I am a mindset self-relationship coach. And again, I just do everything I can to I go by a mission of honor, empower, and refresh. And that really is my goal, is to help girls and women be able to feel honored, empowered, and refreshed. So through different programs, through My Natural Me Wellness, or center rather, and also through just different speaking engagements and of the books that I've written, it's all about trying to empower. So let's get into this conversation. We want this to be interactive. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts, feel free to drop it in the chat. Feel free to jump in the conversation. Again, these are like nice, small, brief discussions, but we're trying to raise awareness. So getting into about again the recent deaths by suicide, I kind of want to talk about, why is social media so impactful? And Amber, kind of jump in, especially because you are creating an app that really helps to manage that. Why is social media, why does it have the potential to be so dangerous for mental health? What would you say, Amber?
I think that it has a. I think that it's the amount of social media we're exposed to. I think that it's. I think that we spend a lot of time on the platforms. Now, don't get me wrong; these platforms are great for networking. I met you through these platforms, and so it's a great opportunity to network, to connect, to build, and to really grow a business or a brand, to market. So definitely a lot of positives. But I think where the issue lies is just really solely getting lost in it. There's a lot of things that we're exposed to via social media. And I think that the amount of time we spend on it really does inhibit the ability to stay focused on mindful practices. I think it can also just kind of where you're in a downward spiral and you don't even realize it. So, which is why I felt the need to create such an app that just kind of, limited that usage and said, hey, now's the time to take a walk outside. You know what I mean? So I think if we can get a handle on exposure, we can definitely start to see. So now I don't want to say all. I think we have a long road ahead of us, but I think we can start to see seeing some improvement for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I was very shocked, and even preparing for this workshop, I was shocked to find out that social media was actually designed to create a sense of addiction. It's modeled after slot machines with the whole scrolling. Yeah, Tiffany,
Yeah.
I see you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly, that was very interesting to me. So many people, especially, I'm going to start with young people, even though all of us are impacted by this, right? Because again, when you think about slot machines, it's not young people typically doing that, right? We all can
Right.
be, right. We can all get caught up, but especially young people, where they might be in that development stage where they are seeking a reward factor. And so they're kind of caught in this loop, because it's, well, if I post this, will I get this like? Well, then I'll get this sense of validation, this sense of confirmation. So we can see how that can be a very dangerous, deadly trap for young people. But as I mentioned, as adults, the two people we mentioned, and again, this does not take away from all the other people who have been impacted by social media, right? But just this kind of focusing on those two, these were people who were not, teenagers. They were not kids. These were adults
Yeah.
who suffered with mental illness, and who were negatively impacted by social media.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very surprising. And I know we have a couple people on who may not be able to chime into the conversation, but especially I know Amara is in that world of, beauty pageant world. And I think, you have to keep yourself grounded, right? And as we do these series, we're going to talk about even more and provide even more tips. But this was just really to kind of open, this particular one is to get the conversation started. when we think about people who may already be in avenues where maybe their image is important, again, Miss USA,
Yeah.
the other entertainer, right? These are people where it already matters how people perceive them. They kind of rely,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? They're
But to
relying. Go ahead, sis.
to speak specifically to Miss USA, Chesley, I don't know if you saw, but I just recently came across the RTT um, interview with Chesley's mom, right?
Yeah.
So RTT is the Red Table Talk that comes on Facebook Live with Jada Pickett Smith, Gammy Norris, and Willow Smith. And so in this discussion, they're sitting at the table with Chesley's mom, and the way she described, and the reason I'm mentioning this because I want to bring light to something else as well. The way she described her daughter, the way most people described her, was just someone who was always smiling, someone who was always happy, someone who was always full of love and life and light. And they really didn't see this coming, you know? So it was one of those things where, like, her mom knew, because mothers feel certain things. I don't know why we have superpowers, but her mom, her mom could sense that something was off, and she spoke about that in the interview. That she had known she was kind of dealing with some things, but she didn't know it was to the extent that obviously that where she was taken by suicide. However, though, what she described it as, and one of the psychologists on there kind of, supported her, was she was experiencing like high functioning anxiety. And it's one of those things where, like, a lot of us do have a lot of anxiety, and can be categorized as someone with high functioning anxiety, or someone with a high functioning depressive state, where you can get up and go to work and go out and smile and do all of these things, and no one will ever know what you're really battling. And so it's important. That's really important because you have all of us go day to day getting up, doing the things that we feel necessary and obligated to do, and still going home and feeling like overwhelmingly one way or another. And so I think it's important to continue these conversations here, online, interviews, that sort of thing, and spreading the awareness because it looks very different for everyone.
I love that. And I'm so glad you said that. And, I know when I was talking about this series that we're doing, I shared that in the work I do with working with a variety of women from different backgrounds, you'd be surprised how many people from, entrepreneurs, doing their thing, from, senior level executives, how many people have very real anxiety over social media because they
Mm-hmm.
recognize that challenge of feeling rejected or not approved of. And again, when we talk about mental health, there can be a real danger there. I've had people who were actually afraid to start a business because they didn't want to have to do the social media part. So it's
Yeah.
it's a very real challenge.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. It's a very real challenge, and it's one that starts. Like I said, I'll always be an advocate for talking about it, like having the conversation, because for so long, my group of women, minorities, we just couldn't. It was always masked in some way or another. So it's really important to me that the conversations continue.
Absolutely. And again, since we are talking about mental health, and of course, we have started off with the very extreme consequence of mental illness, but let's kind of touch on some of the things that happened before that, right? Because when we talk about mental health, we're really talking about the state of well being where we have healthy thoughts, we have healthy behavior. So, you kind of touched on it, Amber. Even if you aren't at the point where maybe you are feeling like taking your life or you're at that level, let's talk about some other signs that may indicate that perhaps social media, you may need to make some adjustments because it's impacting your mental
Mhm.
health. What would you start off with, Amber?
I would say anytime you feel so for me personally, because I believe in transparency, I'm huge on transparency and
Yes.
life events and traumas.
Yeah.
So I'd say personally, I notice that I need to make some adjustments when my mood immediately changes when it goes from 1 to 10. So, for example, if I typically like to start my morning with my cup of coffee or my protein shake. Then I like to go to the gym. I'm typically in a very good mental state once I leave the gym. Now, if I hop on social media and I spend about 10, 15 minutes scrolling, I'm typically okay. But if it's an hour to 2 hours and I've kind of lost myself in it and my mood about where I am in life starts to shift for more for a lack of better terms, starts to shift for the worse, and for me, then I know that I need to take a step back. So that looks like comparisons, which is huge. That looks like withdrawing or isolating myself due to things that I may have seen. That looks like my anxiety, me being more anxious about normal things that I wouldn't have been anxious about. So just really paying attention to my behavioral cues and like how I change or adapt based on what I've been exposed to or for how long, rather.
I absolutely love and agree with that. Being in tune to yourself. Oh, Tiffany, go ahead. I love it. Yes,
Oh,
yes, go ahead.
okay. Yeah. Also with social media, sometimes I have to take a break from it.
Yeah.
Yes, because it gives me anxiety. I already have anxiety problems and depression problems, which
Yeah.
is handled by medication. But
Mm-hmm.
something can trigger, if it's pictures of my
Yep.
friends, if they going out, or if they, having a trip out in out the country and everything, and I'm stuck here
Mm-hmm.
because I have so many illnesses and I can't take those type of trips, and it seems like they going on with their lives
Mm,
and I feel like I'm stuck, and it kind of makes me depressed, and I'm happy for them, and everybody needs a break or to get out, but it's been lately kind of harder for me, and so sometimes I just kind of shy away
yeah.
from
Yeah.
social media, yeah, because it gets my anxiety level up. I start to feel like low self-esteem. I start to feel down,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see everybody looking happy, being happy, and truthfully, deep down, I'm a happy person. Lita know I'm a smiling person. I always have a smile on my face, and so
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, that smile can kind of hide
Mm.
a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what was your name again?
Oh, my name is Tiffany Austin.
Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tiffany, I want to say that I think that it is amazing for one that you are even able to recognize what your triggers are,
Oh, okay.
because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we a lot of the times we don't know what our triggers are. We don't even know we're being triggered. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that even saying that and knowing that, okay, maybe I need to take a step back from this because this is making me feel like this is says a lot about you being intuitive and in tune with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that you're not alone, and I know that's
Yeah.
kind of like, I know that's kind of
Yes.
like one of those things to say, but you're not though. You're
Yes.
not. And I think it's, like I said, like having these conversations, sometimes it just feels really good to know that you're not the only person that feels that way.
I
And also
know.
know you can go travel,
Mm-hmm.
if it happens to be something you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, like, girl, let's get together and, try to figure this thing out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
we can make
Yes.
it happen, you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. I commend you too for being transparent. And
Mhm.
like Amber was saying, I'm gonna be honest with you, my hand is raised too. Like,
Mhm.
people might think, and like you said, especially if you're a smiling, happy person, if you're doing work like what Amber and I are doing, right? Where we're
Mhm.
coaching other people and we're always talking about mental health. Now it really becomes where it's almost, it can be as though you're almost trapped, because it's like, well, if I show how this is impacting me, or if I'm, sad because maybe someone has advanced where I want to advance, then it's almost like, well, I don't really know what I need to do, right? Because I have to kind of be in present and I have to kind of be out there, but I'm feeling a certain way. But you said something that was key. You have taken yourself off of social media when you feel that way.
Yes.
Yep.
That's it.
I,
That is
yep.
the answer,
I
right?
take a break. Yep. I
I
don't
mean,
care
Yeah.
how many emails I get saying, somebody's like, they actually like looking for me or wants to follow me and so, and I said, I just tired of this. I don't feel like this. And so I just kind of ignore it.
but
And then
that's
I
the
see,
Yeah.
key. Yeah.
yeah, I just
That's
kind of
one of
ignore it.
the, yeah, I would
Hmm.
say, if people watching this, again, whether you're watching it live, replay, a month from when this aired, I don't care when you're watching this and you're wondering, well, what can I do to deal with my challenges? The number one takeaway is remove yourself from the situation, right? That is the number
Absolutely.
one. I see Amara raising her hand. I want to make sure I give everybody an opportunity. Amara, go ahead.
Hey, good night, ladies. So my apologies, I'm off camera. I'm actually with a client right now. So I'm thanking her for grace. She's actually listening to the conversation as you ladies are talking. But one thing I wanted to say,
Awesome.
well, actually two things. So as Lita mentioned, I am in a beauty pageant, and the significance of it is I'm constantly judged on how I show up on social media pages, as well as, what I look
Mhm.
like. And the challenge there is that you're forced to sort of fake it till you make it. And I've
Yeah.
learned the significance of do not disturb. The reason being because there's just so many different, like we're nearing pageant time and the ladies are constantly posting and this one's doing this and this one's doing that. And that comparison is a thief of joy. So I've learned how to put on that do not disturb so that I protect my peace unapologetically. I literally set aside 10 minutes in the morning just to post. The first couple things that I see, I like it, I comment, I cheer my ladies on, and then I'm off of it. And I actually turned off my notifications so that I only see what it is I need to see when I'm on there. Otherwise, you're constantly being pinged and it feels as though you're forced to interact when you mentally and
Mhm.
you can't. So all that
Mhm.
said, that do not disturb, the turn off notifications have been so helpful. But the other side of that
Awesome.
is just acknowledging, as Tiffany said, it's acknowledging where you are. And I've had to learn
Yeah.
what makes me feel good and what doesn't. So again, I do
Yeah.
cheer on my ladies, but then I'm also conscious of the fact that yeah, at times I can't move the way that they're moving because I do have a business, I do have a full-time job. And so just being really, I guess, mentally aware of where I am and whether or not
Mhm.
someone likes a picture, whether or not someone invites me to speak, just understanding that if God allowed me to get to this point, then there's so significance in me being here. And I've had to
Oh
constantly
yeah.
remind myself of that. Like, God is my approver. And whether or not somebody crowns me as a queen, I'm already that because when
Mm,
God created me, he created me in like his own perfect image. And it sounds cliche, but
Absolutely.
I've literally like every morning I have my affirmations where I'm saying, no, like I am created in God's perfect image. Whether or not somebody sees or acknowledges that, it doesn't change my value or my worth. And again, people, it's a facade. And I've learned that. Like social media is a highlight reel. People allow you to see what's good. They're not showing you the moments that they're breaking down, crying. They're not showing you that the bills are not paid, but they got a Gucci bag. Like they're not
Yeah.
showing you the things that are hard. They're showing you what looks good. So that said, I've had to constantly remind myself of who God says I am. But then again, being really intentional about how I interact and when I don't interact and not apologizing for it. And
I
Mhm.
that's
love
it.
Yeah.
it. I love it.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful. I know.
Bless God.
I love that comment. I really, really do. And and it's like with myself, it's like I'm not um jealous,
Right. Right.
of my
Yeah.
friends or people that I know. It's just that some things just kind of trigger
Absolutely.
me inside. Yeah. And that's what, like you said, you're glad that I know my trigger.
That's it.
And,
Yeah,
have to
absolutely.
get off
Yeah.
of it for a while. And I had people saying like, where were you? I video called you. You've been off like for a month. And I said, I just had to take a break. That's what I told them. I just mentally, because it's even time consuming. And I even put a timer on my phone to see how long I be on social media, because I don't want it to take all of my time. And when my time is up, I'm like, okay, it's up. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a conversation. I'm like, okay, I got to go. I tell people, I'm like, goodbye. And I don't want it to like overrun my life, and
Absolutely.
also feeling,
That's
like
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I mean, again, and that's why I love these kind of conversations, right? Because we're giving the permission to say, listen, we all are impacted this way. And before we get to the point where we have not pulled back, taking the breaks, and now we're facing, anxiety, depression, or worse, right? We're talking about it, and we're saying these are things that we ourselves have to do, and we're sharing that so that people understand it's okay. First of all, it's normal. It's normal to be impacted by what you see. It's normal to make comparisons. It's normal for your mind to go there, but you can take those positive steps to protect yourself. And I'm going to turn it to Amber to make some final statements. We talked about whether these should be longer. We wanted nice, brief conversations, but maybe the next series will make them longer.
Yeah.
These are so awesome.
Yeah, it is really awesome. I want to speak to two things, actually. So, Tiffany, I just want to say that, again, I really, really commend you on sticking to your guns and just saying, like, I don't care if I'm in the middle of a conversation. I got to go. Like,
I know.
This ain't it.
I like it. Yeah, thank you.
It's hard. It's challenging, especially nowadays where that's really the way of the world. So I commend you for sure on that. And I want to say, when you mentioned the timer, that's exactly what my app is going to focus on. It's going to be a timer specific to each app. Yeah, and so you'll be able to connect with therapists on the app. Like, I'm really working on getting some good stuff going. So I'm just happy to hear that you know where you are, and you're making the conscious effort to change your narrative. I love that.
Yes.
And then I didn't get the other young lady's name. I'm so sorry.
Amara.
The woman who Amara. Okay. You said some beautiful things. Oh my God, very touching, and really spoke to me, very personable. And I just want to say you're absolutely correct. Like, I know you mentioned like saying something that you felt like it was cliche, but I think it's important, because affirming your life and affirming yourself each and every day is literally what it's going to take in order to, stand on your 2 feet and say, like, this isn't for me. My peace is right here. If I got to cut my phone off on Do Not Disturb at 6 p.m., so that I can, focus on myself, and that's just what I have to do. So I want to just say that really spoke to me, and I'm really grateful to have met both of you and to have had this conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you. I just want to say really quickly, well, thank you so much for your kind words. But I also want to say thank you so much to both you and Lita for just starting the conversation. I think a lot of times we talk about it, but we don't really talk about it. We don't address that, we don't get to the root of it. So I just commend you ladies for seeing the need and feeling the need. And, the funny thing, and I've learned that a lot of the times people don't necessarily join the conversations in that moment because they're not sure of what to say. They're too afraid to speak their truth, but you never know. All it takes is one person, and it can literally change a life, So that said, I just thank you all for just being open, honest, transparent, and whether or not you know it, you're probably saving someone's life. You don't know it yet. So I applaud you all, and just thank you so much for keeping the conversation going. It's been awesome.
I know.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have a quick moment of transparency myself regarding Amara, something that I've never shared. So I had Amara on my podcast, Pivotal Moments. You can check the YouTube and see the episode that we did. And at that time, I was going through one of those mental places where I was starting to get into doing a lot of comparing, and I was it was actually crossing over into why am I not getting to this point, and why is this happening for this person but not for me? And I was starting to get to that place and was really being mentally and emotionally impacted. And when we did our pivotal moments in the conversation, and then in the conversation that we had after the interview, Amara, you said some things about supporting other women and celebrating other women. And no matter where you are in the journey, it's exactly where you're supposed to be. And I've said several times that you changed my life, and I never told you what that was, but it was just what I needed in that moment to remind me I'm doing amazing things, and my journey and my path is just that. So the fact that someone else may reach a goal perhaps that seems to be before me, if anything, I can celebrate that, because that means I can get there too. And Amara, you just spoke life that day, and it just really changed the shift of where my mind was. And I really needed that. So I think a lesson from that, as Amara mentioned, let's not be afraid to have these conversations. Let's not be afraid to tell each other, right? How we can impact each other. Let's talk about our own experiences, because it makes a huge difference. And as was said, I think she had to drop off, but as was said, you never know whose life you might be changing just from sharing your own experience. Tiffany, somebody will hear what you shared and be moved and be like, thank you, that's how I feel. Okay, let's social media off, right? So that's what these conversations are all about. And I know we've gone a little bit over time, but I thank you all. Amber, I thank you. Tune in next week. So next week, I know Amber may have a conflict, but she's going to try to do like she did tonight and hop on here. And then the following week, you'll be able to see both of our faces. So make sure you tune in for each of these series, because like I said, we're going to be addressing how we can just be better, feel better, and enjoy social media, and also other places that we may, go that can impact us. So with that said, Amber, anything else?
No, you all have a beautiful evening.
You too.
I cannot to continue this series each week. I'm looking forward to it, ladies.
Awesome. We'll have a wonderful evening, and thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye.